Hello, this is Brett Lutz at the Medford National Weather Service office, and I just want to give you a weather summary of this season and a climate outlook. Okay, so we'll talk about snowpack conditions and the forecast, both short and long term, and some mountain safety type stuff. So here's the typical La Nina pattern, one that we expect, and this year is a La Nina. Last year was also a La Nina. It came on the heels last year of a very wet or of a very strong El Nino, which tends to be the wettest of the La Ninas when they come on the heels of those strong El Ninos. And this year, obviously, has been quite a bit drier. So let's talk about why that is. Well, this is my most technical slide, and what I want to indicate here or have you focus on is that the jet stream here, strongest, has been coming off the coast of Asia there. You can see Alaska there to kind of get your bearings, and then the west coast. And there's a little bump off the west coast where there's been high pressure. And so these are jet stream winds that we're looking at on the left. On the right, what we're looking at is basically how much the high and low pressure systems have been above or below normal. And you see this area off the west coast, this red indicates that we've had very significantly above normal high pressure in a general sense for the 3-month period of this season for December, January, and February. And it has been quite expansive across most of the Pacific, the Central and Eastern Pacific, extending up into the Arctic. And certainly the strength of that high pressure ridging is part of the reason why we're dry. And the main reason is probably most likely related to that little bit of high pressure anomalous offshore of Northern California and Oregon. Okay, how have temperatures been? Well, down in the southwest, you can see that for this 105-year normals period that we're comparing this to, which is 1895 to 2010, we are seeing some record warmth. Now, if it was warmer in 2011 to 2017, it won't notice that, but the main point is very warm in those areas. We do have a little bit of a cooler, relatively cooler La Nina footprint across the Pacific Northwest, but it's really been the last month or half a month that's put a dent in the warm anomalies over us. And most of the cold air has been spilling down over the plains and the front range of the Rockies. How about precipitation? Well, what we notice is above normal wetness, record wetness compared to that 105-year period for portions of Montana and Wyoming. Very notable there. Over a good portion of the rest of the West, minus Washington and northern Idaho, we've seen mostly below normal precipitation, and many areas much below normal. Luckily, not too many too close to home here that are in that record territory. Snowpack has improved substantially. This is snow water equivalent on a basin scale, so drainage basin scale. Last month, a month ago, we were looking at values in the 30 to 40% range across southern Oregon, and now we're up around 50% or better for most areas. Looking more specifically at California, what we notice is things aren't quite as good for the most part. You see a lot of areas of 20 to 40%, and then in some places doing better, 50 to 70%. And on the left, I want to just draw your attention to comparison to both last year and 2014. I'm not going to read through all those, but just notice that Crater Lake is doing quite well now. Diamond Lake doing better. Fish Lake closing in on that 2017 value, so a sign of improving lower elevation snowpack, at least currently. Mount Ashland, kind of the Big Red Mountain area, lower portions of Mount Ashland, looking around 3 feet of snow, much better than 2014, but far shy of last year. And then up at the old ski bowl, certainly enough snow to have some fun on. Nothing quite like the monumental totals of last year. Castle Lake, just starting to become skiable, I believe, but check with your climbing rangers and avalanche forecasters about that, because I believe most of the snow is pretty new over there. Okay, what are we expecting in the forecast? In the forecast, we see that snow is expected to continue through tomorrow morning, Saturday morning, with another 8 inches in Mount Shasta City and about a foot up there on the mountain. Make sure you're prepared to travel in the snow. If you made it here tonight, you are off to a good start, but if you're going up on the mountain tomorrow, you're going to want to be more prepared. It's going to be colder. There's more snow up there, and the wind blows it around more as well. And that includes the ski park too. Okay, where can you get an updated forecast? Well, here's the Mount Shasta Avalanche Center's website, and they have some good links to some commonly traveled to areas. So there's a Bunny Flat forecast you can access there. Of course, their avalanche advisory will have some good information, especially about winds up on the mountain. Alternatively, for a point-and-click forecast, especially outside of the Avalanche Center's area of responsibility, you can go to our website, weather.gov/MFR or Medford, and click on a point. You get a forecast for that point. Here on the right, I've shown you our detailed hazards, where basically you can see on a kind of like a pixel 2.5 kilometer grid box kind of scale where the hazards are for. So you'll notice on Mount Shasta, the main hazard is on the south and southwest side. We do not forecast really, I'll say at least very accurately above 6,500 feet in terms of our hazards. Accurately is probably not the right word, but the Avalanche Center is going to be more accurate above 6,500 feet. For us, it's kind of more general, and things get steep, and there's just more error up higher. Okay, so that specific forecast, a lot of snow expected tonight up at Bunny Flat. You see 5 to 9 inches. I will tell you that our wind forecast is probably too high there. It is a sheltered location, and our forecast is tainted by free air winds. But on Saturday, we're expecting lighter snow, so if you get up to Bunny Flat tomorrow morning, you will probably be able to get down as long as you don't get too crazy around the turns and whatnot, and you're adequately prepared. I'll just show you here, this is where your point is here on the map. You can get some other details about the point as well as a link to our forecast discussion here, and then you can get some tabular early info. So focusing on tomorrow, you can see here that temperatures are expected to be in the teens. Those wind chills are probably a bit on the low side because we're probably over forecasting the winds a bit. But what you see here is we do have them down around 0. So what that means, if you start hiking up the mountain into some exposed areas, you should expect that you're going to encounter conditions that cold. If you go above tree line, it's probably going to be colder. So also the other point here is you can look at the snowfall amount forecast on the lower portion and see the rain, and it's not going to rain, it's just the water content of the snow. So you can see tomorrow we have 1.9 inches of snow forecast with 0.11 of water, so it should be some pretty light density snow, high quality for skiing and snowboarding and whatever else you may like to do in the snow. Maybe a little tough on a snowmobile, but Nick can tell you more about that. Okay, the forecast for March, I'm going to call it a marvelous March. We have greater than 50% probability of temperatures being below normal and precipitation being above normal. This is good news. You can see what the normals are there for Mount Shasta City and Crater Lake. Certainly still typically a wintry month, and with below average temperatures expected, we should see snow on the ground most of the month at Mount Shasta City, and Crater Lake will be accumulating snowpack through the month. With those normal water values up around 6 to, let's say, 8 inches, we should expect probably 50 to 60 inches of snow, or maybe even 70. And if we're expecting it to be above normal, which we are, those values could be higher. So it should be quite a great month. You can see normal snowfall at Crater Lake for the month of March is 73 inches. And we're expecting it to be above that value. How much above normal? Well, this is a slide that I almost omitted. 1 to 2 inches is probably the most likely forecast for Mount Shasta City, but things vary quite wildly, with various locations and different weather models. So while we're confident it's to be above normal, how much above normal is certainly still up for debate, and monitor your weather forecast for more info about individual storm activity. Okay, April, May, June, much less skill once we go out beyond 30 days. So we're looking at a 3-month forecast for more than 30 days out. So caution, caution. This may change, but right now it looks like temperatures are going to start to get to near to the warmer side of climatology as we get into that period, and drier than normal conditions are expected. But this is just a 3-month average, just kind of where we're going. These days don't expect winter to hang on more than what it normally does, and really what we probably should expect is get out there and get it while you can, because it could slip away a little faster just based on what the long-term trends have been. So use this forecast with caution. Safety tips: look out for shallowly buried obstacles, especially at mid and lower elevations. Take the tips of these avalanche guys and look out for wind-loaded areas. We did have a report, the Avalanche Center got a report about some facets on north-facing slopes around 6,500 feet in the Mount Ashland area. If you do venture into areas that are like that, you're certainly going to want to give it a good look. Not that you shouldn't elsewhere, but just want to draw your attention to that. And then in the weather forecast, be mindful of the wind chill, the snowfall rates, and the wind speeds and directions, because we're certainly in winter weather mode, and so there is a lot more hazard than what there's been out there lately. So concluding, the snowpack has improved. We have one, even down lower now. The snowpack is forecast to grow this month. Get your winter safety and avalanche safety game on. Get out there and enjoy the snow, but be smart and be safe. Make sure you have the gear, make sure you have the forecast, and Nick and Andrew are going to tell you much more about that. Have a great evening, and thanks for listening. Very much for listening to this presentation, and hopefully I'll see you sometime in person, and have a wonderful evening.